The massive alien ship hovered over Seoul, casting a shadow that stretched for miles. It had been there for 3 days now, silent and waiting. Captain Jun Park stood at the window of the hastily assembled diplomatic center, watching military helicopters circle the otherworldly vessel like cautious insects. "They're requesting you specifically, Captain Park," General Kim said, handing him a tablet. The translation software finally decoded their message. Jun read the screen and frowned. "Me? Why me? You led our first contact team. They seem to trust you." The general checked his watch. "Their shuttle arrives in 20 minutes. Remember, the future of Earth depends on this meeting." Jun nodded, trying to calm his racing heart. 6 months ago, he had been teaching xenobiology at Seoul National University. Now he was Earth's primary diplomat to the first confirmed alien civilization. The Confederation shuttle landed with barely a sound. Its sleek, pearl-white surface seemed to absorb the light around it. The door melted open, rather than sliding, revealing Ambassador Nera. She was tall, nearly 7 feet, with blue-tinted skin that shimmered slightly under the fluorescent lights. 4 eyes blinked independently at him, set in a face that was both alien and somehow familiar. Her movements were graceful as she extended a 6-fingered hand. "Captain Park," she said, her voice flowing through the translator device. "We meet again." Jun bowed slightly before shaking her hand. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador." Behind Nera emerged representatives from 6 other species, each more alien than the last. One seemed made of crystalline structures, another moved like flowing water in a vaguely humanoid shape. They were escorted to the conference room, where Earth's delegation waited. Political leaders, scientists, and military personnel from a dozen countries. "The Galactic Confederation welcomes Earth," Nera began. "We represent 7 advanced civilizations united in peaceful cooperation for over 10,000 years." The alien representatives displayed holographic images of their worlds, cities that floated among clouds, underwater civilizations, and technology that seemed like magic. "We offer Earth membership in our confederation," Nera continued. "This includes defense against hostile forces, access to faster-than-light travel, clean energy technologies, and medical advances that would eliminate most human diseases." The room buzzed with excitement. The UN Secretary-General leaned forward. "This is a generous offer. What does the Confederation want in return?" Nera's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Only one thing. Compliance with the Reproductive Balance Act." The holographic display shifted to show legal text. "All adult humans who join the Confederation must marry 2 alien spouses from different Confederation species." Silence fell across the room. Then chaos erupted. "This is outrageous. Some kind of sick joke. Are they talking about breeding programs?" Jun stared at Nera, trying to read her alien expression. She seemed embarrassed. The Secretary-General finally restored order. "Perhaps you could explain the purpose of this requirement." Nera nodded. "The Confederation faces a crisis. A genetic mutation caused by interstellar radiation has created severe gender imbalances across our species. We are predominantly female, with male births declining for centuries." The water-like alien stepped forward, her liquid form rippling. "We discovered that human DNA is uniquely compatible with all our species. You can help restore balance while gaining the benefits of Confederation membership." Jun found his voice. "You're saying humans can have children with your species?" "Yes," Nera said. "Our scientists confirmed this when we first observed Earth. It's why we contacted you." The meeting continued for hours as the implications became clear. The aliens offered technological wonders that would solve Earth's greatest problems: climate change, energy shortages, disease. But the price was this strange marriage law. After the initial session ended, Jun was asked to meet privately with Nera. "There's more, isn't there?" he asked once they were alone. Nera's skin changed shade slightly. "Yes, the situation is more dire than we publicly stated. The genetic mutation isn't just causing gender imbalance. It's leading to extinction." Several Confederation species have less than 200 years before total population collapse, and humans are the solution. Your species evolved in isolation, developing unique genetic traits. Your DNA contains adaptability factors unseen elsewhere. Children born of human-alien unions show none of the genetic degradation affecting our populations. June paced the room. But forced marriages, that's your solution. Not forced, Nara corrected. Voluntary within the framework of Confederation law. Many of our people are excited about the possibility of Earth partners. We believe relationships of genuine affection will develop. That's not how humans typically form families. Different doesn't mean wrong, Captain Park. Both sides must adapt. Over the next weeks, Earth's governments debated the treaty. Protests erupted in major cities, both for and against joining the Confederation. Religious leaders declared the alien marriage law an abomination, while others saw opportunity in the stars. Scientists confirmed the aliens' claims about compatible genetics, though they couldn't explain how such compatibility could exist between species from different worlds. Jum became the center of attention when the Confederation requested he participate in a pilot program. He would be one of the first humans to marry alien partners. Why me? He asked Nara during their final private meeting. You understand us better than most humans. And, she hesitated, I would be honored to be one of your wives. Jum's eyes widened. You. Along with Sumi of the Solorians, Nara said, gesturing to the water-like alien who had entered the room. We believe our union would demonstrate the potential of human-alien relationships. Sumi's liquid form rippled in what might have been nervousness. We do not expect immediate romantic attachment, Captain Park, but we hope for partnership based on mutual respect. June looked between them, these utterly alien beings who were proposing marriage. Everything in him wanted to refuse, to walk away from this strange new reality. But he thought of Earth, of the benefits the Confederation offered, of the possibility of human expansion to the stars. I need time to think, he said finally. 3 days later, Earth's governments voted to accept the treaty with some modifications. The marriage law would be voluntary for the first 5 years, with incentives rather than requirements. This would allow a transition period for both humans and aliens. As June signed his name to the first human-alien marriage contract, he wondered what the future would bring. Not just for him and his new alien wives, but for humanity itself. The stars had never seemed so close or so strange. June stared at the strange blue food on his plate, unsure if it was meant to be a dessert or a main course. 6 months had passed since Earth signed the treaty with the Galactic Confederation, and 3 months since his marriage to Nara and Suma. Their apartment in New Seoul Tower, a building constructed with alien technology in record time, was a daily exercise in cultural confusion. You should eat it while it's still moving, Nara suggested, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence. She sat across from him, her blue skin reflecting the kitchen lights. Moving. June poked the dish with his fork and jumped when the gelatinous mass wiggled in response. Suma, whose water-like body was contained in a humanoid form field at the table, made a sound like gentle bubbling, her version of laughter. Nara forgets humans don't eat living food. Her voice came from the translator pendant around her fluid neck. You can stun it with salt. June reached for the salt shaker, wondering for the 100th time how he'd ended up here. As one of the first humans in the voluntary pioneer program, his marriage was constantly featured in news stories about Earth's integration into the Confederation. I prepared a traditional Earth meal tomorrow, he promised. Nothing alive. Nara tilted her head. The vegetables you eat are technically still alive when harvested. That's not the same thing, June said, watching his dinner continue to squirm. Sumi rippled thoughtfully. On my world, we absorb nutrients directly from our environment. The concept of eating is purely social. I find your Earth restaurants fascinating. All those humans gathering to put dead things in their mouths together. June couldn't help but laugh. When you put it that way. Their meal was interrupted by the apartment's communication system. June's sister Min's face appeared on the wall screen. Her expression was tight. "Turn on the news," she said without greeting. "There's trouble downtown." June switched channels to see a protest outside the Confederation Embassy. Hundreds of people carried signs reading "Humans or Humans" and "Earth First." Some were trying to break through security barriers. "Their marriage treaties are just the first step," a protest leader shouted into a microphone. "Soon they'll control our reproduction completely. Earth for Earthlings." June glanced at his wives. Nera's skin had darkened, a sign of distress in her species. Shumi's liquid form had contracted slightly. "I should go," Nera said, standing. "The embassy will need help." "It's not safe," June protested. "I am still a diplomatic representative," she replied. "It is my duty." June grabbed his jacket. "Then I'm coming with you." "Me too," Shumi said, her form flowing into a more streamlined shape better suited for movement. The streets were chaotic when they arrived. Protesters had surrounded the embassy building, their anger palpable. Police were trying to maintain order, but the situation was deteriorating. As they approached, someone recognized June. "Look, it's one of the traitors who married them." Faces turned toward them, expressions shifting from surprise to anger. June instinctively moved in front of Nera and Suma. "We just want to enter the embassy," he said calmly. "We're not looking for trouble." "You brought the trouble to Earth," a woman shouted. "How could you marry those things?" Nera stiffened beside him. Suma's form trembled slightly, ripples of distress visible in her liquid body. Before June could respond, a group of police officers moved to escort them through. As they walked, someone threw a bottle that shattered near Nera's feet. Without thinking, June pulled her closer, shielding her with his body. Inside the embassy, they found similar tension, but in reverse. The alien staff were clustered in discussion groups, many looking anxiously at the humans who worked there. "It's happening on our worlds too," Lyra, a crystalline being who served as Nera's assistant, informed them. "Anti-human protests. 3 human spouses were attacked on Mioris yesterday." "Attacked?" June asked, alarmed. "They're safe." Lyra's crystal structure flickered, her species equivalent of a reassuring gesture. "But the sentiment is growing. Some believe humans are being given too much influence too quickly." That evening, as they returned to their apartment under security escort, June felt the weight of their situation. Their marriage, meant to be a symbol of cooperation, was instead becoming a focal point for division. "Perhaps we should not go out together for a while," Nara suggested as they entered their home. "That would be surrendering to fear," Sumi countered, flowing onto their living room couch. "We must show that coexistence is possible." June sat between them, suddenly exhausted. "How do you two feel about all this?" "Really? Not as diplomats or representatives, but as, well, as my wives." There was a long pause. Confused, Nara finally admitted, "On my world, marriage is a practical arrangement for mutual benefit. I expected to gradually develop companionship with you, June. But I did not expect how difficult it would be to live in a world where many see me as an invader." Sumi's form shifted closer to June. "In Silurian culture, we form communal bonds with many partners simultaneously. Being limited to 2 spouses feels strangely incomplete. Yet I find myself developing a singular attachment to both of you that is unfamiliar but not unpleasant." June looked between them. These aliens he had agreed to marry for political reasons. They were so different from humans, from each other, from anything he had imagined for his life. Yet in this moment of vulnerability, he felt a surprising connection. "On Earth, marriage is supposed to be about love," he said quietly. "Most humans think what we're doing is impossible for that reason." "What is love to humans?" Nara asked, her 4 eyes focused intently on him. "It's," June struggled to explain. "It's when someone else's happiness becomes essential to your own." Sumi rippled thoughtfully. "By that definition, perhaps this arrangement is not so impossible after all." Outside, the protests continued. Inside, Three beings from three different worlds sat together, trying to build something new, a family across the stars. Jum couldn't sleep. The data file Minho had slipped him at the embassy reception kept playing in his mind. His old university friend now worked in the Confederation's genetics division, and what he'd discovered changed everything. The bedroom was quiet except for the soft hum of Nera's sleep cycle. Beside her, Sumi rested in her containment pool, her liquid form gently pulsing. After 6 months of marriage, Jun had grown accustomed to sharing space with his alien wives, even fond of their presence. But tonight, he carefully slipped out of bed and padded to his home office. He inserted the data crystal into his computer. The holographic display lit up with genetic charts and confidential Confederation documents. "Computer, translate and summarize," he whispered. The AI complied. Confederation species face extinction within 200 to 300 years due to cascading genetic degradation. Human DNA contains unique repair sequences absent in all known galactic species. Phase 1 of Genetic Salvation Initiative. Marriage law to establish human alien population base. Phase 2. Mandatory genetic harvesting from all humans to create universal cure. June's blood ran cold. Mandatory harvesting. The treaty had mentioned nothing about this. "What are you doing?" He jumped at Nera's voice. She stood in the doorway, her blue skin almost luminous in the dark. All 4 of her eyes were fixed on the display. "Where did you get those files?" she asked, her voice carefully controlled. "Does it matter? Is it true?" Jun countered, standing to face her. "Is Earth being set up for genetic harvesting?" Sumi flowed into the room, her liquid form moving faster than usual. "What's happening?" Her translator pendant activated as she formed a more solid shape. "Jun has accessed classified Confederation files," Nera said, "about Phase 2. Sumi's form rippled in what Jun had learned was alarm. "You weren't supposed to know yet." The confirmation hit Jun like a physical blow. "So you both knew? This whole time?" "Not the whole time," Nera said, her skin darkening with emotion. "I was informed after our marriage was established. And you didn't think to tell me." Jun felt his voice rising. "Your people plan to harvest humans like crops." "That's not accurate." Sumi moved closer, her form shifting anxiously. "The process requires minimal tissue samples, not unlike your Earth blood donations." "Minimal tissue?" Jun laughed bitterly. "The document says mandatory harvesting from all humans. That sounds like more than a blood draw." Nera stepped forward. "Jun, you must understand. My species has less than 2 centuries before complete extinction. The Silurians, the Meorians, all Confederation races, we're dying. So you lied to Earth, to me. We presented the information that would be most acceptable," Nera said. "The marriage law was just the first step." Jun paced the room, mind racing. "And what's Phase 3? Turn humans into breeding factories." Sumi's form contracted in distress. "There is no Phase 3. Once we develop the cure from human genetic material, the balance will be restored." "And what about consent?" Jun demanded. "Did anyone consider asking humans if they wanted to donate genetic material instead of tricking them?" A heavy silence fell over the room. "The Confederation Council believed humans would refuse if asked directly," Nera finally admitted. "Your species is notoriously protective of its autonomy. So instead you planned to wait until we were fully integrated, then spring this on us when it would be too late to refuse." Jun felt sick. "And our marriage? Was that just part of the plan too?" Nera's normally composed face showed raw emotion. "The marriages were strategic, yes. But what has grown between us?" "Don't." Jun cut her off. "I need to think." He moved to leave, but Sumi flowed to block the door, her liquid form solidifying slightly. "Where are you going?" "To warn Earth." "You can't," Nera said, her voice suddenly hard. "This information is classified at the highest level. Revealing it would violate Confederation security laws." So would letting my species be harvested without consent. Suma's form rippled thoughtfully. Perhaps there's another solution, one that doesn't require secrecy or coercion. Both June and Nera turned to her. What if we developed a program of voluntary genetic donation? Shuma suggested. Humans could choose to participate, with full knowledge and appropriate compensation. The council already rejected that approach, Nora argued. They calculated only 30% participation, insufficient for species-wide cure. But they calculated without understanding humans. Jun said, an idea forming. Humans will fight coercion with everything they have. But when asked to help, when given the truth and treated as equals, many will choose to help. Nera looked skeptical. You believe this? I know it, Jun said. Earth history is full of examples. Blood drives, bone marrow registries, organ donation programs. Humans regularly give parts of themselves to help others. Sumi moved closer to him, her form shifting with excitement. This could work. Nera paced the room, all four eyes blinking in her species' equivalent of deep thought. The council will resist. Some members believe the current plan is the only way. Then we go around them, Jun said. We take this directly to both populations, human and Confederation. Full transparency. That would be unprecedented, Nera said. And dangerous. More dangerous than what happens when humans discover they've been deceived. Jun challenged. There would be war. The three fell silent, the weight of the situation pressing down on them. Finally, Shumi spoke. I will support this alternative approach. My people value harmony above all. Deception creates disharmony. Nera looked between them, conflict evident in her alien features. Finally, she sighed, a very human gesture she had adopted. What you propose is treason against the Confederation Council. And what they propose is betrayal of Earth, Jun countered. If we do this, Nera said slowly, we must be certain. There will be no going back. Jun looked at his alien wives, beings he had married for political reasons, but had grown to care for deeply. Now they stood at a crossroads that would determine the future of multiple species. I'm certain, he said. The truth is always better than the most comfortable lie. Sumi flowed to his side, her form touching his hand in a gesture of solidarity. After a long moment, Nera joined them. Then we begin tomorrow, she said, and may the stars help us all. Jun checked the secure channel again, then nodded to Nera and Sumi. We're clear. You can begin. Their apartment had become command central for what they now called the Transparency Movement. 3 weeks had passed since they'd discovered the Confederation's true agenda. 3 weeks of secret meetings, encrypted messages, and growing fear of discovery. Nera activated the broadcasting equipment they had assembled. Her blue skin looked pale under the harsh lights they'd set up. This message is for all citizens of Earth and the Galactic Confederation. I am Ambassador Nera of the Muorian delegation. What I am about to share violates Confederation security protocols, but honors the greater law of truth. Sumi's liquid form shifted nervously beside the camera. Outside, rain pattered against the windows of their high-rise apartment. The weather had forced them to cancel their usual precaution of meeting in different locations each time. Nera continued, explaining everything. The genetic degradation threatening Confederation species, the hidden plans for mandatory harvesting of human genetic material, the deception built into the treaty. But there is another way, she said, her 4 eyes blinking in emphasis, a path of cooperation rather than coercion. Jun stepped into frame. We propose a voluntary genetic sharing program. Humans who choose to participate would provide samples for research and development of treatments. No mandatory harvesting, no secrets, no lies. The broadcast continued for 12 minutes, laying out their alternative plan. When it ended, Jun shut down the equipment with shaking hands. It's done, he said quietly. Sumit flowed to the window, her form stretching to look at the city below. Now we wait. They didn't have to wait long. Within hours, the broadcast had been shared across Earth and to every Confederation world. By morning, their apartment security system warned of approaching Confederation security forces. "We need to go," Nara said, grabbing the emergency packs they had prepared. "The Council will charge us with treason." The door chimed as someone overrode the security system. June braced himself for arrest, but instead, Dr. Minji entered, his colleague from the university who had married 2 Silurian spouses. "Come quickly," she said. "Others are helping. There's a safe place." They followed her to the basement and through a maintenance tunnel that connected to the adjacent building. A small group waited there, 3 human-alien family units, all wearing expressions of determination. "Your broadcast changed everything," said Quan, a human engineer with his Arquesian and Biorian wives. "We've been suspicious of the Council's agenda for months. Now we know." "The Council is calling you traitors," Minji added, "but many of us see you as truth-tellers." Over the next few days, their movement grew rapidly. Humans and aliens who had formed genuine bonds through the marriage program rallied to their cause. Safe houses were established. Communications networks formed, using old-fashioned methods that Confederation surveillance couldn't easily track. June was surprised by how many Confederation citizens joined them, not just spouses of humans, but officials, scientists, and ordinary citizens who believed in honesty. "My species faces extinction," said Ta, a crystalline Lydian who joined their inner circle. "But I cannot accept survival through deception and coercion." The Confederation Council responded with increasingly desperate measures. They declared martial law in alien-human sectors. They arrested suspected sympathizers. They accelerated their plans for genetic harvesting, scheduling the first mandatory collections. 1 month after their broadcast, June, Nara, and Shumi sat in the basement headquarters of their now substantial resistance. Maps and communications equipment covered the walls. Volunteers came and went with reports from around the globe. "The Council has scheduled an emergency session," said Hana, their human intelligence analyst. "Sources say they're debating a military option to secure human compliance." June exchanged worried glances with his wives. Their movement had grown faster than expected, but they weren't prepared for military conflict. "We need to take this to the next level," he said. "It's time for Phase 2. Phase 2 was risky. They had spent weeks developing an alternative genetic therapy using samples voluntarily donated by humans in their movement. Dr. Minji and a team of both human and alien scientists had worked around the clock. "The therapy isn't perfect," Minji warned as she prepared the injections, "but our simulations show an 83% success rate in repairing the genetic degradation." Nara rolled up her sleeve, her blue skin paling slightly. "I volunteer to be first." June took her hand. Over these difficult weeks, what had begun as a political marriage had transformed into something genuine. He cared deeply for both his alien wives. "Are you sure?" he asked. All 4 of Nara's eyes fixed on him with determination. "Yes, my people need to see that truth and cooperation can save us, not deception." The injection took only moments. For several hours, nothing seemed to happen. Then Nara began to glow faintly from within, a sign that the therapy was interacting with her biology. "How do you feel?" Shumi asked, her liquid form rippling with concern. "Different," Nara said slowly. "Stronger." The medical scanner confirmed what they hoped. The therapy was working, repairing the damaged genetic sequences that had plagued her species for generations. Word spread quickly. More Confederation citizens came forward, asking for the voluntary treatment. Humans lined up to donate genetic samples when they learned the truth about what was at stake. The Council couldn't ignore the groundswell. 2 days later, as they prepared to authorize military action, their chamber was peacefully surrounded by thousands of Confederation citizens and humans standing together. "We choose cooperation," the crowd chanted. "Truth before fear." Inside the chamber, Council leader Dorn watched the screens showing the protests with dismay. "How did we lose control so quickly?" A junior member spoke up. "Perhaps we never had the right kind of control. Force and deception are poor foundations for survival." The vote to abandon the mandatory harvesting plan passed by a narrow margin. In its place, the council reluctantly authorized official discussions with June, Nara, and Sumi's transparency movement. As June stood outside the council chamber, waiting to enter for negotiations, he felt Nara's hand in his right and Sumi's liquid touch on his left. "We did it," he said softly. "No," Sumi corrected, her form shimmering with emotion. "We began it. The real work starts now." June stood at the observation window of the new Seoul space elevator, watching Earth grow smaller below. 5 years had passed since the Transparency Revolution, as historians now called it. 5 years of change, challenge, and unexpected joy. "Ready?" Nara asked, joining him at the window. Her blue skin had a healthy glow, and the genetic therapy had given her a slight iridescence that was becoming common among treated Meorians. "As ready as anyone can be to attend a Galactic Council session," Jun replied with a smile. Sumi flowed up beside them, her liquid form contained in the elegant environmental suit she preferred for formal occasions. "The shuttle reports will dock with the Confederation station in 20 minutes. They boarded the small transport that would take them to the massive ring station orbiting Earth. This was Jun's first visit to the station since its completion last year, a joint human-alien engineering project that symbolized the new era of cooperation. The shuttle docked smoothly, and they were greeted by a delegation that included representatives from all 7 Confederation species, plus humans. No longer was Earth the junior partner, admitted on sufferance. The revised treaty had established full equality among all member species. "Ambassador Park," said Dorn, the Lydian council leader whose crystalline form sparkled under the station lights. "Your report on the voluntary genetic exchange program has been distributed to all council members. Most impressive results." Jun nodded respectfully. He still found it strange to be addressed so formally. His role as Earth's chief ambassador to the Confederation had come as a surprise appointment after the revolution. 3 million human volunteers, he confirmed. And the genetic treatments have now reached 60% of affected Confederation populations. With remarkable success rates, added Dr. Minji, who had joined them for this session. As the lead scientist of the program, she had become something of a celebrity throughout the Confederation. They proceeded to the council chamber, a vast circular room with seating for delegates from all worlds. The original 7 Confederation species plus humans, 8 civilizations now bound together in a genuinely cooperative alliance. As the session began, Jun found his attention drifting to more personal matters. His hand unconsciously moved to the pocket where he carried the small hologram of his daughter, Jaya, the first human Meorian child born through natural means rather than laboratory assistance. Her skin had a faint blue tinge, and she had only 2 eyes, but they held the same thoughtful depth as Nara's. Sumi had contributed genetic material as well, resulting in Jaya's unusual ability to manipulate water, a trait from Sumi's species. The child was just 3 years old, but already fascinated by both her human and alien heritages. "Ambassador Park." Dorn's voice pulled Jun back to the present. "Your thoughts on the expansion proposal?" Jun collected himself quickly. "Earth supports the careful approach to contacting the Xenon civilization. Our own experience shows that transparency from the beginning is essential." The debate continued for several hours. The discovery of another spacefaring civilization in a neighboring galaxy had raised complex questions about Confederation policy. The lessons of Earth's integration were fresh in everyone's mind, both the mistakes and the eventual successes. When the session ended, Jun, Nara, and Sumi returned to their quarters on the station. The living space adjusted automatically to accommodate Sumi's liquid nature, with special channels and pools built into the floors and furniture. "I received a message from your mother," Nara told Jun as they settled in. "Jaya has learned another Earth song and insists on singing it to all visitors." Jun laughed. "Which one this time?" "Something about a bus with wheels," Sumi replied, her form rippling with amusement. The wheels on the bus go round and round, Jun sang softly, remembering his own childhood. Their domestic conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication chime. The holographic display activated to show Dr. Minji, her expression excited. "It worked," she said without preamble. "The adaptive therapy. We've confirmed successful gene repair in all 7 Confederation species. The extinction timeline has been completely reversed." Nera's 4 eyes widened. "All species, even the Lydians?" "Even the Lydians," Minji confirmed. Their crystalline structure made treatment particularly challenging, but the modified approach was successful. When the call ended, a profound silence fell over the room. What had begun as a crisis escalated into deception, and then transformed into revolution had finally reached its resolution. "It's really over," Chumi said, her liquid form shifting through colors that expressed deep emotion. "Our peoples will survive." Nera moved to the window, looking out at the stars. "And we did it the right way. Through truth and choice, not coercion." Jun joined his wives, feeling the weight of the moment. What had started as a political arrangement, a human being required to marry 2 alien females, had become the most important relationship in his life. "I've been thinking," he said carefully. "Jaya will be starting school next year. She should understand her heritage, all aspects of it." "What are you suggesting?" Nora asked. "A year on Earth, then a year on Meoria, then a year on Siloria," Jun proposed. "She should know all her homeworlds." Suma flowed closer, her form touching his hand in the way that still sent a pleasant tingle through his body. "You would leave Earth for so long." "My home isn't just Earth anymore," Jun said simply. "It's wherever my family is." Nera's eyes blinked in sequence, her species equivalent of emotional tears. "5 years ago, I thought our marriage would be a political necessity. I never imagined." "None of us did," Jun finished for her. "But here we are." The station rotated slowly, bringing Earth back into view through their window. Below them, the blue planet turned peacefully, now just one world among many in humanity's expanded concept of home. On the horizon, the sun was rising over Asia, illuminating the continent where this strange journey had begun. A new day for Earth, for the Confederation, and for a family that spanned the stars. In the nursery of Jun's mother's house in Seoul, little Jaya, part human, part Meorian, part Silurian, slept peacefully, dreaming of stars and planets she would one day visit. Her very existence was proof that the greatest adventures often begin with the most unexpected journeys.